Books and coffee, that's all I need.
Hello and welcome everyone to today's little author chat. We have the lovely Meg Humble with us today. Some of you will know how obsessed with Meg's books I am. If you hang out in my sprints, you will definitely know. If you are on my Instagram, you will also definitely know. However, this is the first book, and soon we will have the second installment to A Cursed Queen series, which is a lovely little fantasy romance number. And without further ado, I'm going to start asking some questions to the lovely Meg, because this is why we're here. We want to hear from you. We don't want to hear my twaddle. First of all, do you want to just give us a little introduction to yourself and your books, etc.?
Yeah, of course. Well, first, thanks for having me.
No problem, my pleasure.
So The False Queen is a new adult romantasy series. Well, that's book one in the Cursed Queen series. And so it's about a human girl who's born to a coven of witches. And no one can tell her why she was born human. But of course, they want to use that and infiltrate a kingdom where there is, of course, a handsome prince. But everything is not as it seems for our FMC Blaze. She kind of gets there and, some lies have been told to her. So it's kind of, at its heart, it's kind of a forbidden love story with a lot of magic and political intrigue going on. And then, as the series progresses, it gets a little bit darker.
I'm so here for it, honestly. The emotions I've had today going through Vengeful Queen. Oh my God. Seriously. I'm obsessed. I don't think I could be more obsessed. It may become my whole personality at this point.
I'm here for that. It is mine. So
yay, twinsies. Okay, so if you could tell us a little bit about you and how you became a writer as well, that would be great.
So I've kind of been writing ever since I was a child. Like that was just what I did for fun because I was a nerd. And I just came up with stories. And then so the idea for the False Queen, actually, I feel like it's so cliche, but I had a dream. And the dream was it was the most bizarre dream I've ever had in my life. And it was about triplets being born separately. And then I woke up with just this whole idea in my head that could only happen if there was magic involved. And then I woke up, I wrote out the first chapter, which looked completely different to how it looks now. But I wrote the first chapter and I sent it to my best friend and I was like, I think I might have done something. She was like, yeah, you've done something. So then I just kept going and then sending her chapter by chapter. And then, kind of took it from there, really. So that's how that started.
I don't think it is that cliche. I haven't heard this before. That is just, it's such a cool way to start a book, like just to have it like come to you in a dream, like almost. Like that's awesome. Okay, so do you outline your books, or you're more of a fly by the seat of your pants author? You've sort of started answering this one.
So I am a pantser. I don't plot. I have no idea what's coming out when I sit down. I just sit down and channel the characters, and whatever comes out. And this really infuriates my editor because she's like, how have you put together this story that is cohesive, makes sense, has foreshadowing in it, and you didn't plot this? And I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't know. I'm not complaining, but I don't know how that happened, and we're just going with it. So I have an idea of like where the story is going to end up, and obviously I know that, but kind of the middle chunk, it's just we see what happens and we connect the dots later.
I think because I am a chaos gremlin myself, this would be, if I was a writer, this is how I would write too.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so moving on with this, how you write and stuff. Is it the same with your characters? Do they just come to you almost fully formed, or do they take a little bit of?
So obviously it takes a little bit of time to get into them. I feel like I take bits and pieces from. I wouldn't say I base it on people I know, but inevitably they bleed in. Luna is the biggest example. So she 100% just channels my best friend is her basically.
That's awesome.
She's just that sort of like ride or die, but also just like so witty and funny, and yeah. So that it does take from people I know, and obviously there will be traits of me in there, but yeah, so they sort of come to me and then just pad them out.
I was just going to say, are you aware of the traits that are from you at the time that you write them, or is it more on reread? Do you think, oh, I do that?
Yeah, it probably is more on reread, to be honest, and it probably also is other people pointing it out more than, because I feel like you have just such a warped version of yourself in your head. And you're like, I never do that. I'm never that stubborn, and then you're like, oh, actually, I really am. It's usually my husband pointing it out to me, like, that's definitely you've definitely done that.
And then he brings the receipt. One that I don't know why I need to ask this one. It was the first one on the list.
Yes.
Essex.
Yes. So actually a lot of the place names kind of come from Essex. So Rayleigh, obviously the kingdom of Rayleigh that they go to, it's spelt different, but the town where I am is called Rayleigh. So yeah, there's a lot of Essex towns and villages that sort of pop up spelt differently throughout. Obviously Essex is not full of witches that I know of, but
I mean, we can only dream. I can really see like the mirroring with Essex and Essex, obviously, and some of the names, like I could imagine them. I don't know if this is going to be an annoying connection, but I can really see them being on The Only Way is Essex. For anyone who's not in Essex, that's probably the closest to knowing anything about Essex we'll get, you know? So like,
I can think of one name. Marbella, 100%. She could be Marbs could be straight out.
No Marbs before Marbs.
To be fair, that was not done intentionally. But I can see it now. Oh god.
Yeah, I know.
This was a complete accident.
You can edit that bit out if you want. Okay, so what are some of the best things about being a writer for you?
So I would say the best thing about being a writer is connecting with readers, because at my heart I am a reader. And I absolutely love to fangirl about books and chat about books, even when it's my own books. Like, my favourite thing is getting people's reaction. The worst part about being an author is keeping secrets. It's so difficult. So when people actually start reading and reacting, and I'm like, oh, I can get everything off my chest, and I find myself fangirling with them. And I don't know if it's because I don't plot. So everything was as much a surprise to me as it was to everyone else. It's when I can finally talk about it and I'm like, oh my god, yeah, when this happened, and it's like I'm not talking about my own book. But yeah, that is my favourite thing, is just having those interactions with readers. It's so lovely.
What are some of the challenges of being an author that you think people probably don't know?
So I think there's a lot of challenges, especially with being like self-published or an indie author. There's a lot of things that people don't, because when you're trad published, you don't really have to think about all of these things. Even now doing book 2, there's mistakes that I've made and that I'm like, oh, I wish I didn't do that. Or it's like purchasing your ISBNs and things like that you don't necessarily think of when you have this glamorous idea of, you don't think about all of these different things. But I think the biggest challenge is putting pressure on yourself. I think when I didn't have that for book 1, because obviously no one knows about you, no one's read the story, there's nothing. But book 2, and especially now that I'm writing book 3, I think there's a lot of pressure to deliver not only a story that like you're proud of, but that like does the characters justice, and that everyone, and I mean, you're never going to please everyone, but you want people to be happy with how it ended. So I think that's probably the biggest challenge at the minute, is just making sure that you're happy with it and that other people are.
To alleviate pressure, but I really don't think that can happen. I really don't.
Well, I really hope so.
Like, I'm like halfway through the second book now, and the consistency that you write with is literally so impressive. I've read thousands of books over my life. That sounds like a real big flex, but it's not. And it's rare that I see this consistency across books by the same author, especially as this is your first published work, isn't it?
Yes, yeah.
that is so impressive.
Thank
I'm
you.
I'm genuinely floored by and kind of jealous a little bit.
Oh, thank you. I know, I appreciate it. Yeah.
Are you self-published or indie published?
So I'll be honest, I had to look up the difference between these.
Okay.
But I am self-published. So obviously self-publishing means that you've done it yourself,
Yeah.
published it yourself. And indie is through an indie press.
Sorry. This
Thumbs up.
happens a lot. Yeah. I didn't think I'd done the thumbs up sign, but apparently I did.
Yeah, so indie is through an indie press. However, obviously self-published authors call themselves indie authors because it's independent. So it all kind of, everyone will call themselves indie published. But yeah, so I'm self-published. There was a time where I was trying to get the full screen traditionally published. I think I queried it for on and off for about 2 years and was doing revisions and stuff in between that. So it looks very different to how when I first started doing queries. And then I found my editor, Lauren, and she just had so much belief in the story that it made me believe that I could do it. And I was like, right, I don't want to wait to traditionally publish anymore. I want people to get to know these characters and I want to see it come to life. So yeah, so that's what I did.
Okay. We in this little part of the community, a lot of people really support indies, whether self or the other way. So let's do a fun one now. Out of your characters, who would you snog, marry, or kill?
Okay, so I love this question. Straight out of the gate, we're killing Agnes. Like there's no other acceptable answer.
No.
She has to go. That's the only acceptable answer. The other two are quite challenging for me, I'll be honest. So I think I would like to snog Torben, and he.
Yeah, sorry. I just wasn't expecting that answer.
He is book 2 and he is a very grumpy, sexy elf. And
why the hell not?
Exactly. And then marry, I was torn between Kaz and Cole.
Right.
But I feel like I have to say Kaz because
I
do love him with my whole heart.
Honestly, it really frustrates me sometimes with fantasy romance that a lot of the male like love interests are really problematic to me. Like they get really controlling and like I know it's a whole thing and a lot of people like it, but for me personally, that's one of the things that I really love about Cass is that he isn't like that. He's just a cool dude and really thinks about things and really cares, and like I don't know, it's just a nice example of what a man should be.
Golden retriever energy, and that is he is a cinnamon roll and he is proud to be that. So,
for sure. I love that. That's definitely one of my vibes there. Basically everything about a Cursed Queen series so far is what I like, so
it's ticking boxes. Good.
Yeah, it's ticking all the boxes. One of the people in my little part of the community, Renee, I will link her in the description box below. She has her own channel on YouTube, but she asks, how does your writing time look?
So for me, it's kind of all over the place at the minute. I have a couple of days where I have dedicated to writing, but then more often than not, I get distracted by Canva and sit and make Canva graphics instead. That's the problem with being self-published, is doing all your own marketing and it gets distracting and takes away from your actual writing time. But when I do sit down to write, I used to really force myself to just sit and write, and I find that actually really hard because sometimes because I don't plot, sometimes I don't have anything to say. So I sit there and nothing comes out and I feel against a brick wall, and it doesn't make me feel good about it. So I've kind of stopped doing that now, and I'll write when I've got the chance to write, or if I have an idea, I will be carving out space so that I can sit and write that idea, because whilst it's there, it needs to go on the page.
Yeah, otherwise it will just wander off again.
Yeah, it does do that. Sometimes before I've even got my notes up to write down what, and I'm like, oh no, it's gone. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
that could have been the
Oh,
one.
that was so good.
Yeah.
Come back. Come back.
Yeah.
How would you describe your vibe to someone who is new to you?
Yeah, so this for me is such a tricky question. I don't know what it is. I think it's because I don't plot. I keep saying that because I don't write to hit certain tropes. They just sort of happen. But when it's like trying to describe what my vibe is, like that's really difficult. But for me, I think the False Queen gives eldest daughter vibes, even though Blaze is not. She's not the eldest in this. I just think it really gives that sort of eldest daughter, that finding yourself. I think it's really centered a lot on like self-growth and like learning who you are. And then the pressures of trying to please everybody else, whilst you're still like discovering who you are. I don't think it's necessarily like an adolescent story, but there is like an element of that, of her sort of like coming of age and that sort of thing. But yeah, I think it kind of has like a bit of a dark undercurrent, and then just and friendship and love. And I think that's kind of the whole.
Yeah. I mean, I get all of them vibes, so
good.
I feel like you
did a good job.
Okay, let's move over to your reading. What sort of genres do you like to read? And like, do you have a favorite book or anything like that?
Yeah, so I am a romantasy girly through and through. And I've also just started reading just pure romance, which I hadn't really touched before, which is strange to me because I do read fantasy as well. But I really struggle when there's no romance element. I think even if it's a subplot or something, I just really love. And so I have to have that to be invested in a story. That being said, my favourite book, I feel like there's a lot of discourse online about whether this book is romantasy or whether it's not. And I don't think it actually is. But there's enough of a like romance subplot for me, and that is The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. It's my comfort book. If you saw it on my shelf, this poor book has been battered because I haven't read it so often. And it's one of those, like, I like to read in the bath, and so all the pages are yellow. And it's just, this poor book has been loved. But yeah, that's my favourite book. Yeah.
That's what books are for, being loved.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm, you know what? I think I'm going to have to try this series because in the last couple of weeks, you're the fourth person to mention it.
It's so good.
And I've never been drawn to it.
Yeah.
So
it's more on the it's more on the fantasy side. It is young adult as well. But yeah, it's just, I don't know, I could just read it over and over again. I love it so much.
I love a book that you can just get like that and just keep reading over and over again and never get bored of it. I'm like that with The Starless Sea.
I've not read that one.
Yeah, it's so good. It is weird and you won't have a clue what's going on. But it's just amazing in every way. That's my comfort reading. Yeah. Well, for that one for me, I feel like it's kind of a Marmite book. You either really vibe with it or you really don't, from what I can tell. But I don't know, I think I read it at the right time for me. And it was just like, I just clicked with it straight away. I just love the like whimsical vibe of it. How many books do you think are going to be in your series, in this series?
So the aim is for 3 books, 3 main books, and then 2 novellas. However, book 3 she's chunky. She's big. And a lot happens in it. So when it goes out to beta readers and my editor, it will depend on whether they say there's a lot in this that needs more fleshing out, as to whether I then split that into 2 books so that there would be 4. But I'm hoping that it stays as 3 and we just get a bit of a chunky book at the end.
I love the chunky book.
Me too.
Finally, I won't be throwing any more sort of well, this is the last curveball, I promise. But I should put this one on the list and just realised that I didn't. But finally, where can people find you, and so that they know when books are coming out and things like that?
Yeah, so I am on Instagram, TikTok, Threads. My username is the same on all of them. Username is meghumble.author on all of those things. I think I'm also on Facebook as well. I'm probably everywhere. You can find me anywhere. Don't turn up to my house, but you can find me anywhere.
No, that's looked down on a little bit. Don't turn up on author's doorsteps. You'll get your training order.
Exactly.
Another thing to read though, so that's an upside. Still not what we're going for here. Okay, and finally, I just want to do a big thank you to you, Meg, for making the time for us today. I know this part of the community really appreciate fantasy romance as a genre, and I know for a fact there'll be some new fans watching this. They may not know it yet, but they will very soon when they go and buy this book. Do it now, we'll wait.
Oh, thank you for having me on.
No problem at all. Everything will be linked in the description box below. There will be links to be able to buy the book. There'll be links to all of Meg's platforms. And yeah, please, thank you for taking the time for watching this. Love you. Bye.
Bye. Love you.
I didn't mean to leave the countdown on, but I don't ever show anyone ever anything.
You should.
No, it's way too weird. Way too weird.
Nothing's too weird.
It genuinely makes me want to open some sort of application process in order to find my sisters.
Yeah.
I need some like that.
Yeah. I agree.
The highlight is on my leg, permanently tattooed now.
That.
Otto may be the next one.
I mean, don't get an Otto tattoo.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past me, honestly, but I can't promise nothing is what I'm saying.
I'm a book hermit, part of the BookTube crew, sharing my thoughts, connecting me and you. With every page a new adventure awaits, a community bound by the love we create. Grab a cup of joe, let's dive